I am incredible at ruining things that haven't happened yet. Truly elite, like Olympic level. I can take one neutral detail and emotionally cancel my whole future so I don't have to get my hopes up like a freaking idiot. If someone doesn't text back right away, cool. Yeah, they totally hate me. If I start wanting something a little too much, that's my cue to shut it down immediately. Wanting things has historically been a setup, and I'm not falling for that trick again. Hi, I'm Sheila. I'm not a coach. I'm not a guru. I'm just a midlife menace who's absolutely mistaken fear for wisdom more times than I care to admit. So if you're nodding along with me right now, it's probably because you are like this too. You quietly opt out. You emotionally pull the plug before anyone else even knows it was a thing. And the part that still makes me laugh in the darkest Sheila kind of way is how convincing it feels because you're not panicking. You're being realistic, right? You're being smart, right? You're protecting yourself from disappointment by never letting anything get far enough to matter. Which sounds responsible until you notice that you're punishing yourself for endings that you've made up in your own head. I decide early. That's my move. I read the room, right? I feel one twinge of uncertainty and immediately go, yeah, no. I see where this is headed. I'm out. It feels like foresight. It feels like intelligence. It feels like I'm learning from my experience. It's actually me leaving before I can be left. I don't say I'm scared. I say, oh, yeah, I just don't think that's realistic. I don't say, oh, I want this a lot and it makes me feel really vulnerable. I say, meh, forget it. I don't want that much anyway. I mean, I never get what I want. I already know how this is going to go. And the lie that I tell myself is that I'm avoiding pain. What I'm really doing is relocating it to the present and calling it efficiency. I've talked myself out of things that I have actively wanted while sounding very composed about it. I've said things like, no, it's fine. No, it's fine. I just don't see it working out anyway. As if the future has personally emailed me spoilers. Once you start doing this, you do get fast. You don't even need proof anymore. You don't need facts. No, you just need that familiar tightening in your chest that says, abort mission. We've seen this movie before. You start confusing dread with discernment. You start confusing fear with intelligence. You start confusing disappointment with inevitability. And then you call it growth. If you do this too, drop one place that you decided the ending early and you told yourself that you were just being realistic. Put that in the comments. I want to hear from you. We didn't learn to do this because we're pessimistic. We learned to do this because the worst actually did happen enough times that our nervous system took notes. Now, when you've been blindsided, humiliated, dropped, or disappointed in ways that you didn't see coming, you stop trusting the middle. You stop trusting yourself to survive the fall. So you start ending things early. You do it quietly, you do it internally, you do it before hope gets too loud. Because hope is expensive when it doesn't pay off. This is us not trusting ourselves to survive disappointment anymore. If I don't let myself want it, I can't be embarrassed later. Right? If I decide it's doomed now, I don't have to grieve it later. If I kill the story early, nobody has to watch me fall apart in real time. That's not negativity. Oh no. That's me acting like disappointment is inevitable and I call it wisdom. And the reason this hooks so deep in midlife is because for a long time, this looked like competence. You learned, you adapted, you survived. But now that same reflex is costing you possibility, and it's doing it so politely that you almost miss it. We don't talk enough about how many adults are walking around convinced that their fear is prophecy. We say trust your gut, but nobody tells you that your gut is carrying decades of scar tissue and unresolved shitty lessons. So now every unfamiliar situation feels like a rerun. Every neutral pause feels like a rejection. Every open ending feels irresponsible. And instead of asking, what's happening? We ask, how do I get out of this without hurting? That's when self-protection quietly turns into self-abandonment because you're not choosing differently. You're choosing earlier. You're not being cautious. You're being preemptively done. And the cruel twist is that you start believing this makes you wise, when really it just makes your life smaller in ways that don't announce themselves. There's no explosion. There's no big loss. There's just a slow narrowing of what you're willing to stay present for. You didn't start deciding the ending early because you're broken. You started because at one point it was safer than being surprised. But here's the part that I had to sit with, and I did not enjoy it. If I don't trust myself enough to survive disappointment anymore, then the problem isn't the ending. The problem is that I stopped believing that I'd be okay if it didn't go my way. You don't have to stop predicting outcomes tomorrow. You don't have to suddenly be brave, optimistic, or open-hearted. Here's what to watch for. Are you predicting outcomes way too early with way too much certainty? Do you feel relief when you decide not to try something? Do you get that smug little calm that says, see, I'm fine. I didn't even want that anyway. That's the tell. That's not clarity. That's you pulling the ripcord so that you don't have to stay inside the uncertainty part. And stopping it doesn't mean forcing optimism or telling yourself everything will work out. That's not the job. The job is simpler and much more annoying. All right, so when you feel yourself deciding the ending early, pause and ask yourself one question, just one question. Am I actually responding to something that happened, or am I trying to get out of the middle because this is uncomfortable? If nothing has actually happened yet, you don't need to decide anything. You don't need to commit. You don't need to quit. You don't need to make a story out of it. You just stay. You let it stay unfinished. You let yourself not know yet. That's it. Not bravery, not hope, not a mindset shift. Just refusing to end the story before it earns an ending. And yeah, it feels really, really weird. But that's how you know that you're not flinching early. No pep talk, no fix, just that. That one question, that's all you need. And if you're feeling like you've been a little bit too ignored lately, let's follow that up here.